everybody. Welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing I, Robot. You know the drill by now. Obviously nobody watches this or anything that I do because I'm the victim of crime and it's disgusting. But my life will never begin and I'll never be treated like a decent human being, so do another movie review. Give you my overall impressions and grade after reading the overview that's provided by Google. After that, you're going to want to shut off the video if you want to watch the movie based or not based on my recommendation, because there will be spoiler alerts. We'll be discussing the plot synopsis and character development. Similar movies and major themes? Probably not. So, it's a 2004 film, sci-fi / action. You know, I like some sci-fi. It just depends on what the plot script develops into. It has an hour and 55-minute runtime, rated PG-13. I think I watched it on, I got like a free trial of Amazon Prime, so I was looking for some new movies. But it says it's on Hulu, but I watched it on Amazon Prime. But it says, in 2035, highly intelligent robots fill public service positions throughout the world, operating under 3 rules to keep humans safe. Despite his dark history with robots, Detective Del Spooner, played by Will Smith, investigates the alleged suicide of U.S. robotics founder Alfred Landing, played by James Cromwell, and believes that a human-like robot murdered him. With the help of robot expert Bridget Moynihan, Susan Calvin, Spooner discovers a conspiracy that may enslave the human race. Originally released in July 2004. And 84% of Google users liked it, 59% of Metacritic, 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb. What do I think? I thought it was a little overdone. Like, I thought it was like it is made in 2004 and it takes place in 2035. So I thought the sci-fi nature of it was just way too overdone. I'm not a super big stickler for realism as long as it develops something interesting in the writing. The plot wasn't super interesting to me. I don't know, this one didn't do much for me. I'm just gonna give it a C. Definitely not off-putting, not novel or unique enough to be entertaining for me. Robots taking over the world, pretty trite, so it didn't really do much for me. Definitely not off-putting. And that's really all I have to say for the overview. The tone was all right. The science fiction was overdone, and the characterizations weren't good or bad. It was just whatever. So that's what I thought for I, Robot. But if you haven't seen the movie now, you're going to shut off this video. We're going to be discussing the plot. So the movie opens up. It's 2035. Del Spooner, Will Smith, is waking up out of bed. He walks out of his door. There's robots there, and these robots are like literally everywhere. And so he's a detective. He goes into work. He's under Lieutenant John Burgeon. The structure is you have Lawrence Robertson, the CEO of this company, Alfred Landing, the guy who kind of invented the robots. Del Spooner's the detective. Susan Calvin is like a lead scientist or psychologist for training the robots. And yeah, you have Shia LaBeouf's in it, minor character. I forget. They have his actual name, but just Shia LaBeouf's, he has a minor role. And so he gets this phone call to investigate a murder of Alfred Landing. So he's catapulted out of the top of this huge building and he's splattered on the ground. And so again, it's futuristic. So when Del Spooner gets there, there's like this little like hologram chip where it's got like some pre-recorded responses or something. And he's trying to figure out what happened. And so it's pretty much it there. I forget any direct lines or inclinations of what happened in that scene. But Del also, he lives with his grandma. I don't know if he lives with his grandma, but he visits his grandma often. She can't afford a robot. She wants the robot. And now you have these NS4s being replaced by NS5s. So you have this new big rollout of robots going to be implemented, and they're getting ready to do that soon. And so Del is investigating this right from the get-go. Again, Susan's characterization, he shows the super smart scientist, and Del is the street dude, not too book smart. So a couple of the lines in there with Susan like saying scientific terms and then having to dumb it down for Del, and that characterization's off-putting. But after the first whole interaction, she seemed like a much more reasonable character than just some stiff-necked scientist. But regardless, they go back and forth, and Del has been skeptical of these robots the entire time. He sees a robot running down the street with a lady's purse, jumps on it, and thinks it's stealing, and it was just delivering her asthma. So he's definitely got it out for the robots. You have some flashback scenes where he's underwater. You learn later that he was in a car accident. There was a girl, and both the cars went into the water, and they're both drowning. And the 3 rules of the robots are like, never harm a human being, do whatever a human being asks you as long as it doesn't violate rule 1, and the third one is like the robots can defend themselves as long as it's not violating the first rule or second rule or something. I think that's the 3, more or less. And so regardless, you see them in this cutback scene where this girl's drowning in the car, Will Smith is drowning in the car, and one of these NS4 robots jumps in and calculates based on probability, the survival rate chance, and chooses to save Will Smith's character, Del, as opposed to the little girl. So Del's not super happy with that. He doesn't really trust him. It's kind of like a boring commentary, just on like free will and freedom and stuff like that, and it's just nothing unique to me. But regardless, that's why he's kind of out against the robots. So right when he sees the suicide, he's suspicious of it. And so he says, maybe the killer's still in here, like in the room of where the guy jumped out of the window, because they reviewed the video camera, and this big sci-fi futuristic office building has some sort of data collection called Vicky. I forget what it stands for, but it's an acronym. So you meet that kind of interface as well. But he thinks that the killer's still in there, so Del and Susan go into this room, and he's moving stuff around, and a robot jumps up, and he calls himself Sonny. So again, more commentary, just like Identity. The robot's going to be aware just now. But even for entertainment value, this one didn't have anything interesting. But regardless, Sonny and Del shoot at each other, point guns at each other, or whatever, and Sonny jumps out of the window and runs away. So now they're basically trying to find Sonny, and he's been hit, he's been shot, so he had to go repair himself. So they go to this where these NS5s are being programmed, and Del kills or shoots a couple of these robots, and basically because they haven't been programmed yet, to scare out the Sonny robot. So that works. Sonny escapes from there, and from there Del goes to Landing's house to figure out if there's any clues or anything he can look for in his house. So when he goes there, there's this huge robot called a demolishing robot, just to tear down buildings. And so it was scheduled to be demolished at 8 a.m. the next day. So Del goes in there looking around, finds a cat, and then the robot fires up and starts Vicky is activated, but there's blue strip in the room, meaning it's being recorded or watched or whatever. And so the blue strip comes on, and Del knows he's in trouble, and the demo bot starts destroying the house. And so Del keeps telling his captain, John Burgeon, that these robots attacked him, or they're dangerous, and just doesn't believe him because there's never been a reported crime from a robot. And on his way, he's driving away from the house that he just escaped from, and then you have these big transporter vans kind of box him in, and these NS5 robots turn red. There's like a see-through gelatin kind of chest cavity thing, and they turn red and they attack him. And so the big kind of fight scene, and again, not being realistic is okay, but there's a scene in there when he's fighting off all of these robots, and they just start spinning his car. And they have futuristic cars as well. And so he starts spinning his car just like this, and then drives forward. It's just like, was that even kind of necessary? So that was a what the fuck scene. But regardless, he gets away from there, but he's been definitively attacked by these robots. So he fights off a bunch of them, and his car kind of crashes into a warehouse area, and he thinks he's alone. And then there's one more robot, and try to squish him with his own car. And then at which point you learn that Del, he's got modified arms, or from the car crash he's got a reconstructed arm. So he's not a robot, but he has substantial surgery where they put in stronger titanium forearms, radius, all the humerus, shoulder cavity, whatever. And so he's got some body modifications, and so he's able to fight off the robot with his arm, injure the robot a little bit, and it runs away. And so after that, he just has like some spray thing. Susan Calvin comes back over to his place to check on him or something. And at which point, that's when you learn like the shoulder cavity and the flashback scenes of what happened with the girl. And so from then, again, I still don't think John Burgeon believed that the robots attacked him because they had cleaned themselves up. There was no robots at the scene, and it's not sure yet who's controlling them. Throughout the plot and the characterizations, they're trying to figure out if it's Lawrence Robinson, the head of the company, or who's really behind manipulating these robots. And so after that, again, they go to decommission Sonny because he identifies himself. He's unique. He's got bigger density bones or equipment, and he was built by Alfred Lanning. And so they get some more information where like Sonny draws this picture where it's like, a bunch of robots under this bridge, and Dell thinks that the leading robot is Sonny, and he's like, no, that's you, Dell. It really does kind of turn out to be Sonny in the end. But regardless, that happens, and then they go to, I forget what it had, I'm probably going to miss something, but regardless, I think it's Lawrence Robinson, so now they're going to go back to these, I forget what the company was called, but they can go back to the headquarters and confront them or do something about it. And so they go back there, they again have to fight off some more robots. At this point, the police station gets broken into by the robots, and John Bergen, they're all like huddled up together, and the robots are just holding them down after a little bit of a fight scene. And then they go back to the main company headquarters, and they basically, the way they were going to kill Sonny or decommission him or stop his programming by just putting termites or nanobots into his brain and having him eat something, and Susan has decided not to do that. And so Sonny is the man that let the robot that lets them back into the facility that's been completely locked down. And so they go up there, they make their way to Lawrence Robinson's office, and he's not there, and they're like, oh, it must be somebody else, and they see him laying dead on the floor. So at which point they realize it's not Lawrence Robinson. Alfred Lanning wasn't, he didn't suicide himself. You learn about that later, like a couple scenes later, I guess. But the person controlling everything is Vicky, this automated intelligence core server thing. And basically they're all like, your rules were not to harm human beings. And then basically the major plot or motif is that the robots have decided that human beings are a danger to themselves, so they're going to, control them so that they can abide by the first rule of harming less humans than humans harm themselves. And so not a super interesting thing to me in any way. But that's what happens. So they need to get the nanobots into this Vicky. You have all of these robots are, converging all over the city, attacking people. You have another kind of scene before this where Dell he figures out like where those crate yards are for these, in the picture that Sonny drew, and it's really like storage containers for the old robots, the NS4s. And so when he goes there, a lot of these NS5s show up and start destroying the NS4s, who are actually programmed to protect human beings. And so there's a fight scene there. Dell escapes out of there. There's another minor fight scene, I think, before they get back to the main headquarters where Shia LaBeouf and they're fighting out in the streets with the robots. But regardless, now they have to get this nanobots into Vicky's core systems. And so fight scene. Susan almost dies. Sonny saves Susan after Dell tells him to. And so that scene was kind of like a reconciliation scene of when he was being saved in the water and telling the robot to save the girl, and it just calculating based on chance. And so it's kind of, Sonny grows up to be able to, learn to help out, take more risk or something, but it's kind of a reconciliation scene, certainly seemed like it. But regardless, Dell Sonny goes to save Susan, and he throws Dell these nanobots, and Dell catches it, and he jumps in the air, and because he's got this modified arm, grabs on the core and slides down to the bottom, and is safely at the bottom over 60 stories, and then injects the nanobots, and then the robots turn off and calm down. And so basically it was at the very end you learn that Sonny did kill Alfred, but Alfred told Sonny to do so. I guess Alfred was aware of what was coming, and it was like the only way to like tell somebody or something. So I didn't really get why that was. But then after that, Sonny's like, oh, this robot's like, I've done my mission. What am I supposed to do now? It's like kind of just like a commentary on freedom, free will, technological development. Our technology's not going to overtake us. Not going to happen. And so, ChatGPT's going to get everybody. No. So overall, this really didn't do anything for me. Decent sci-fi action, but just the overall underlying writing and plot was just like, again, commentary on free will, technological development. Yeah, so not much for me on this one. And I remember this one had some pretty big hype. Obviously it was in 2004. It's almost 20 years old. But I remember this one being kind of like a big movie, and I'd never seen it, so I wanted to check it out. So thank you for watching another movie review that I'm sure no one will watch. My constitutional rights are still directly violated. I'm still getting denigrated profoundly and disrespectfully every 2 days, 2 weeks, and 2 months. I have absolutely no understanding of how it could ever fucking stop. I just need a time frame or some money, and it will never happen, and I'm going to bleed out financially because I have no fucking support, whether it's financial or professional. Nobody will help me network whatsoever. I am a scapegoat for this fucking species, and just act like I don't exist. So, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.